My take on the Genzebe Dibaba 1 mile run, 4 minutes 13.31 seconds, 17 February 2016. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. It's my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi. I'm filming this Wednesday, 31 January 2024. So this is here I talk through the Genzebe Dibaba 1 mile run race at the 2016 Globen Galan in Stockholm, Sweden. Time of 4 minutes and 13.31 seconds in the final on Wednesday, 17 February 2016. With her time, she achieved a personal best time, a world record, and first place. I provide my take/perspective on her performance and contextualize it in terms of host locations for sporting competitions and how they can lag in the countries of medalists taking their turn in hosting. So yeah, it was a fast race, and I like Sifan Hassan, right? I mean, because this is the third one of these world records I'm talking about, or okay, like if we're going, I can only choose one African runner, right? It's gonna be Sifan Hassan. Okay, so okay, there's it wasn't necessarily the smoothest mile in terms of like gait, but it was fast, right? You're not, and I think that matters, right? There's the take or perspective on the run is a person, like speaking as someone who's not necessarily graceful myself, sometimes it's about just getting the time, not necessarily about being graceful while doing it, while Sifan Hassan is like graceful and fast. So she's kind of a golden standard in that way. For me personally, okay, and this was not that. And it was indoor. So it's not 4 laps of the track, it's like 8 laps depending on the track or whatever it is, which as someone who has run on a track, it's a lot easier running with curves than without curves on a track. You can just kind of like lean into the curve. So in that sense, indoor track is actually a little bit easier than outdoor track. Don't know why the times are slower. Maybe it's just part of the talent they bring in, kind of thing. I would say, so there's a lot of really fast Africans in especially middle distance and long distance, and people of African descent, right, in sprinting, who are fast in running. And for whatever reason, they don't take their turn in hosting, which I find very kind of disrespectful. If you're gonna go out there and win, 80% of the medal table where your continent is, instead of kind of like all continents have a history of slavery, and or especially this was in Sweden, and I'm Old Norse than before by ancestry, and there's a history of slavery amongst my people, right? And so having people come in and just kind of disrespect us, like the slave owners in our lands used to disrespect us, it's kind of like, well, there's been no progress made, right there, right? Is if the Ethiopians are winning everything, the Ethiopians should be hosting as well. But so I guess there can be a lag time, right? At some point, if they don't host, I would consider the medals dirty in the sense of not being moral or ethical. And resurrecting the past traumas of those of us whose ancestors, they're racing on my ancestors' land, and we have a history of slavery that did not include them, and they're choosing to resurrect the slave owner mentality by just trampling on our land and giving nothing back, right? So there's a little bit of, is it a tough topic? Yeah, it's like host, right? The United States of America for the Olympic Games has hosted more than any other Olympic Games, and the medal table is the consistently high performers, right? So in that sense, America does its job in hosting the Olympic Games. Africa does not do their job in hosting running competitions. All right, you should have five Addis Ababa World Championship host locations, right, in a row, right, for how many medals they've won, that kind of thing. But that's not that the athletes get a push and a say, right? They get influence and that kind of thing. But that's partially, well, she chose to run, right? It's not like it was the World Championships in Sweden. No, she's like, I'm just gonna go trample the Scandinavians people, and I'm like, as a Scandinavian, I'm like, hey, if it's a clean time, a clean run it on your own soil, right? Don't go trampling those of us whose people have suffered in the past, you know. But there was slavery in Africa, and there were slave owners in Africa, right, who owned other African slaves, and so maybe she's of the persuasion that owned the other slaves, you know, in Africa, or the slave owner. I don't know. They could, running in general could use some good people at the top. But specifically, one way we can start addressing that is, since they're so fast, and there's so many, and they're so consistently fast, why are they still running on other people's soil? Right? They should be doing their due diligence in their job, which is hosting. The century of the future. Southern Hemisphere hosted sporting competitions, which is warranted and would be great for the diversity of these competitions. So maybe someday I'll get there. It's my take on the Genzebe Dibaba 1 mile run, 4 minutes, 13.31 seconds, 17 February 2016.